Quick question. Now, how exactly do you grow your money alongside you? That's the question that I'm going to answer in this specific video. Now, the question is, how exactly, and I want you to think about that title very keenly. How do you grow your money alongside you? Here it is the growth of the money, and here there is you being present. Those two things has to meet. And let me put it on the board. See, how do you grow your money? To grow your money and do what? Alongside you, you are being present. So having a sort of a joint between these two individuals. Why? This is the point. See, when you have money in a bank that is not invested, guess what happens? You violate that principle. Why? Your money is not growing. What do you violate? Your money is not growing. All right. Why? It's not growing because the money is just lying idle in a bank. So the money is not growing. Number two, alongside you. See, alongside you, what are you doing? Are you growing yourself? Yes, you are. And when I say growing, I mean you're growing in terms of age. You know, things are progressing. For example, let's say randomly pick a 20-year-old kid or an adult. See, pick a 20-year-old an adult. Okay. Now, and then pick somebody who is at 40 years. Okay. These guys, there is a growth in them. One, age. Two, responsibilities, or what we call, the bills to be paid and all those kind of things. So these guys, they have grown. So you are growing not only because of age, but also because of the needs that you have to cater for. The more you become an adult, but I don't know whether you guys have realized this. The more you become, or the more you grow old, the more bills you tend to pay, and the more riskier the life becomes. For example, pick an individual who is single, who does not have kids. Okay, let's not use the kids as an example. Let's pick an example who has, an example of an individual who does not have a motorbike, and the one who has a motorbike, or has a car and does not have a car. Let's say, for example, in Kenya, we are about to be added a tax of the cars that we own, which will be 2.5% of that car that you own. At the end of the year, when you're paying for your insurance, you have to pay a tax of 2% of the value of your car. So you realize one thing: if you do not have a car, then it might not be a bother. Well, I understand there will be a trickle down of that taxes because if it's a transport, whatever the thing it is. But the point is, you have the car. Now it becomes more, you have to become more responsible. You have to pay more things. You have to pay more bills and all those kind of things. See, now, as you grow old, you tend to have a lot of things. Let's say you have kids, you have the grandkids, you have the house that you can protect, a storm can come, you have the cars that you can protect, it can be stolen, you have you have the health to protect, you have to become more responsible. Then how do you make that money to grow with you? There are some people who grow and out. Allow me to just put it, it's quite funny. There's some people who outgrows their money. Your consumability or your consumer might outgrows the rate at which you're making. Did you get that point? You outgrow the rate at which you're making. For example, say you're making 40K, but you have an appetite of 50. You have to grow your money. Let's say, again, you take like 30 days to make 30,000. And I'll have to give that example. You take 30 days to make 30,000. It takes a lot of time to make that money. It takes, basically, it's like you're earning 1,000 bob each and every day. But once you paid, you consume that in 3 days or 10 days. So you outgrow your money. Then how can you grow alongside your money? That is exactly what I'm talking about. Now that I've laid that foundation, you grow as the money grows. Let's get into the business. Now, how exactly do you actualize that? How you actualize that is when you actually do what we call the analysis of the current situation that you are in. When you do the analysis of the current situation that you are in, there are some things that will remain constant. Sometimes at the best point, they remain constant, but the fact remains that they grow. For example, let's say you have a recurrent expenditure. You have a recurrent expenditure at 30,000. Recurrent expenditure simply means these are the money that you need each and every month for you to eat and drink and pay all your bills, okay? And maybe let's say you have one kid. And then because you are active, let's say you get the second kid. Definitely, this recurrent expenditure will be more. Therefore, the situation is, and what you're doing, let's say for now, you're earning 50K. Therefore, you're sparing 20K, which is savable. Let's say out of this 20K, 10 goes for entertainment, clothing, what have you, and whatever. So 10K goes towards a what? A potential investment, or should go towards an investment. Now, here you are. You're getting kids. Kids are growing. You're also growing. More bills are coming in. inflation is growing, economy is becoming whatever, things are becoming more expensive, but the rate at which this salary is growing is not matching the same. So then you ask yourself, in 3 years' time, probably this recurrent expenditure will shoot up to 35K. Probably. Therefore, it means the basket of the savings, which is 10K, would be reduced to 5K. By the way, this explains why we have over 80% of Kenyans do not have the savings. And the 20% of those who have the savings, 80% of them, they have less than 100K. I'm going to make a video about that. Now, guess what? Another 3 years comes in, the recurrent expenditure will be at around 40K. Remember one thing, in a rate of 4 years, let's say maybe there is an increment of the salary, maybe by 5% or 5,000. Then you realize this one is either remaining constant or it is going down and down and down. So how do you then do that? What you do is that you check yourself and say, hey, guess what? In 5 years' time, I'm managing to set aside 10K. I'm going to channel this money towards a money market fund. Yes, I know money market fund won't solve all my problems because that is more of a capital preservation than the wealth growing. And if it's want to view it from a point of growing of wealth, I have to leverage on time, of which I do not have because I'm talking about 5 years. Then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to save my 10 per month, which makes 50, say, in a 5 months, or maybe say 120 in the rest of the year. Then I'm going to look for a way of how I can be able to invest this money. Maybe I do have a chunk of land, or maybe I have a piece of land somewhere, or maybe I don't. Maybe I can go into the farming next year, or maybe I can take that 100K. Oh, guess what? I can be able to buy something that I can be able to supply. I can go into the stationery business. Wow. I can get into the production. Maybe say like I do buy cereals and mill the flour and what have you. You can get into a thing that is making you money. Yeah, you know it's a risky affair, but if you don't risk, you can't gain. That's what you're supposed to understand. Now, you ask yourself, this money, I have to grow it. Before you start speaking the language of investment, let me just tell you the truth, guys. Before you start speaking the language of the investment, you have really to accumulate the money. So that by the time now you're taking that money and putting it into an investment, it's a bit tangible. I said there are only two things you can do, either leverage on time or leverage on the amount. If you do not have the time, then you can leverage on the amount. And if you do not have the amount, then you can shift from the investments, you go to the businesses, because that will help you to grow more money. Maybe you can show up to places where you can buy the clothing that you can resell. You can buy sneakers that you can resell. You can get into the water refill business. You can get into the cosmetic business. You can go into the farming, because right now farming is doing great. People have to eat, or all those kind of things. You can get into production of something. You can go into the service industry. You can buy yourself a camera, a tripod stand. You can buy a board like this. You can buy a pen like this. Tell people who you are, and then you can be able to offer services. And obviously, if you show and quite enough value and you build trust with people, they can be able to pay you for you to help them solve their problems. Because never forget one thing, money is always a product, or rather is a reward given after solving someone's problem. So there are different ways on how. Now guess what happened now? You're looking forward into 5 years time. I'm gonna channel this money, I'm gonna make this money grow, my salary is there, and then I have something that I'm building. Because listen, tell me, unless maybe you're a former president, tell me who continues to pay you even after retiring. Nobody pays you. Only former president, and I think ministers and whatever, they are the ones who get paid each and every time. So show me employer who pays you at 70 or at 80. Nobody pays you. The moment you retired, assuming that you can no longer be productive, that's the end. That's the end of the contract. So the point is then, you rely on that what you did build during your active ages. You let your money grow. And this is what you do. When you get employed, let's say you get your first employment when you are 25 years. Guess what happens now? This is your job, all right? And this is your investment. Okay, let me put it here at the middle so that you understand what I'm talking about, so that you know what I'm trying to bring forth here, okay? Now, let's say you get employed when you are 25 years. Okay, that's when you get your first job. Now, this is your job. And then we are saying here, source of income. This is where the source of your income is coming from. Okay, source of income. And then at the down here is your investment. You probably have zero investment. Okay, investment. Probably you have zero. You're just fresh from university. Now, what happens? You are at 25. As more age goes by, you realize now this goes up. Right? You build that one. Probably might argue as well the job, what you get in goes up, but you have to really pump this that is on the investment, grow at a higher rate, compared to the rate at which this is growing. Because even, by the way, they usually say, I don't know much about how people they are being added their salaries in the Kenya. I don't know, you shift from one job group to the other. I don't know at what, I think it's 3 years or 5 years, whatever it is, okay? Now, the point is, you find the rate at which this is growing, you find maybe this is growing at a rate of, let's say, 20 kilometers per hour. Allow me to use that. I know it's funny, but this one you have to let it grow at least 35 kilometers per hour. What do I mean? So that one day, by the time now you're clocking, say 60, in Kenya you probably retire at 60 years, you realize that what you've built, it is way bigger than what you are getting, or at least equivalent to that what you are getting. Why? Since you are employed from 35 all the way to 60, that is over 35 years, you have a character that you have. Probably there is a place where you hang around with your boys and girls, or girls. There is a place where you have a lifestyle with you. It's either you bring your investment to a point where it's generating that is enough to cater for your current lifestyle, or it's more than that. That is exactly what you do. Now, the moment you are rendered retired, you have to have brought up your investment that they can be able to cater for your life, because nobody continues to pay you beyond that point unless you are a former president. Or if you're smart enough, you can work enough and you have the grace and become the president, you don't have to worry about all this. And if you are from Africa, then you can steal a lot, and then you can have all those money by yourself if you come from the Africa continent. Yes. Okay. Now, the point is, well, what happens when you actually engage on this? You're letting your money grow with you. As you grow old, then you're growing with it, and you bring it to a point whereby now you're safe and secured. This is now what we call growing alongside your money. You grow with it. Do not outgrow the money. If it is possible, let the money outgrow you. And that's where we say, hey, that guy has a lot of disposable income. You see, the disposable income can only be achieved by two ways. It's either you earn a lot, or you make a lot, or you attract a lot. I think that should be the best term. You attract a lot towards your end, or you simply use close to nothing. That's when you live below your means. If you're earning like $1 million bob per month, then you're living in a house rent that you're paying 20,000. Then at that particular point, you're simply having no effect to that money that you're having. Well, not a substantive effect, should I say. So now, this is what we call now growing alongside your money. When you pump in, as you grow old, this one you bring it up there, and then you can be able to do. And this one can achieved by different vehicles. Now, the areas to invest, we call them the vehicles to take you there. There's someone who will use the vehicles of investments. There's someone who will use the vehicles of the businesses. Okay, and at the moment you're actually using the vehicle of business, as you transition toward the old age, wrap this business with the media of investment. Because this is what we call the exit plan. Exit plan. What does it mean? Maybe you can actually wrap this in the sense that, guess what? You can sell the equity of this business, and then you can actually bring a board of management there that can manage that business. Then you'd rather even reduce your equity all the way to 2%, or maybe let's say 10%. That 10% is actually, maybe can be 10% of an elephant, because you can own this business at 100%, maybe it's 100% of a sheep, but you can get 10% of an elephant, which is equivalent to a cow. So the point is, as you grow old, because the business requires your presence and engagement each and every time, then you can wrap it with a media of investment. And then once you wrap this in a media, this is a system, I bet I'm going to talk about this in future. You wrap it in a bit of investment whereby you're not engaged that frequently or whatever. Some people do wrap it and they hand over these businesses to their sons, to their daughters, to their family members, to their what have you, because they become less active, or what they do is just throw what we call the gems of wisdom out there. They share with them, they tell them, do this, do that and what have you. Sometimes they don't even share why, because things are transformed from all those years they have been there. So the point is, that is exactly how you grow alongside your money. So when you understand that concept, then it becomes a little bit. I had a friend of mine who was telling me, I cannot accept somebody to pay me money less than my age. For example, he was saying, I'm 20 years, by then he was around 23 years old. He was telling me, if I can't get 23 G's a month, then I'm not good to go. Well, I know that one may be a little bit far-fetched, but anyway, it is what it is. Everyone has their own principles of viewing things and what have you. See, when you have an eye on the target, you don't get anything alongside. That is it. It's like the way, is it a lion or a cheetah? They put an eye on a thing. It is. Whatever dashes across them, that's what they have. Do not be distracted by a dashing squirrel if you have a target on the antelope. That's what we say. For now, it's a goodbye and see you the next one. But don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and make sure that you comment on the comment section. You can pick that number of mine from the description of this specific video. For now, it's a goodbye and see you the next one.